Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Lizardmen led by E-Bankers facing off against Khorne, who shall be helmed by Kartoffel. Hopefully I said that right, here on the Astucci Castle. And it looks like we have a battle of elite infantry. It is going to be triple Temple Guard, guarding the dreaded Dreadsaurian. Oh, I love it. I love seeing the Dreadsaurian. One of my favorite units in the game for sure. Nonetheless, Lizard Army, like I said, very elite infantry, and this is one of the few matchups in which elite infantry can be brought pretty safely, and you get a good old honest chance to fight. Obviously against magic, things like Temple Guard and let's say Chosen or whatever, going to be vulnerable against Pit of Shades, Melkoth, Spear Leech, whatever. Magic is going to be very punishing, Tzeentch's Firestorm, nasty stuff, right? But in Khorne, it's, like I said, a good old-fashioned knockdown, drag-out fight, so it's going to be Temple Guard. And I do like them as a choice here. Obviously, they will trade pretty badly into like really elite Khorne infantry if we're talking about like Exalted Bloodletters and potentially Chosen with dual weapons. But against everything else, they have anti-large to fight the very common and popular Minotaurs of Khorne and maybe like a Scarbrand type character. And they have good enough stats to hold against Chaos Warriors and definitely will beat down Marauders. So yeah, pretty nice, well-rounded unit here. So it's going to be triple Temple Guard, including the Star Chamber Guardians. Star Chamber Guardians, pretty elite stat line. I think they're one of the better choices against Khorne if you're going to be going Temple Guard. Like if you could only bring one Temple Guard unit, you would want the Star Chamber Guardians because they do magic damage. So if they do end up fighting a Bloodletter, they'll get a nice damage buff against that. They have Guardian. We do also see Eternal Duty, so they're unbreakable if they're near a character, and Primal Instincts and a little bit of predatory fighting, so they can get some nice stat buffs. We got the Dreadsaurian, and yeah, Khorne is a big old fighting melee mashup, and Dreadsaurians are quite good at that. The Howdah on the back is going to be excellent at applying poison and poking, and yeah, Dreadsaurians are quite decent, I think, as far as big monsters go. We have a Slann Mage of Life, makes sense. You have a lot of precious targets here you want to keep alive, and looking at Kartoffel over here, it is going to be the Marauder Horsemen of Khorne with Throwing Axes, a really good choice, because they can rush up, grab the objectives instantly, do a little bit of harassing, and also give a faction an option at range to deal with big monsters. Because yeah, sure, Khorne can fight a Dreadsaurian in melee with like Minotaurs of Khorne and Valkia potentially, but it's not always the best solution, so you want to maybe bring some Minotaurs in there to help out. Or excuse me, Throwing Axes. On the backside, it's going to be Marauders of Khorne. We do have the dreaded Double Cultists, which is extremely meta. They're good fighters, and they can grind through some of the infantries, but even elite like Temple Guard. And more Marauder Horsemen being called out, Chaos Warriors, and Chaos Warriors. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding while the players posture for position. We do see the Marauder Horsemen on the flanks going after the good old Temple Guard, but there is a call-in from the Dinos. They do call in the Ancient Salamander. Pretty nice range on this bad boy, 160, and not a bad tech against some of the Marauder Horsemen here. Going to be able to poke at range, and it looks like the Khornate Horseman trying to get some sneaky Throwing Axes on the dreaded Dreadsaurian, but he's got his Howdah, and ooh, the Javelins from the cohorts. Yeah, a lot of people miss those for sure. Gets a big amount of damage there on the Marauder Horsemen, and they're going to get punished very, very badly. Now, the Hordes of Hell are upon the Lizards, and it looks like it is going to be a Khorne triple cap out of the gates. Objective 2 is going to be going to Khorne. Downside objective here, number 3 in the Rice Paddy Fields has not been captured, but Fleshhounds and Marauders going to go grab that. And Khorne is going to be going for a bit of a stuff strategy where maybe they give up some value, it looks like, to just try and hold the objective. So we'll have to see. Valkia up in the sky is waiting for her warriors to engage before she goes after something, which is smart. She would be a very good assassin against the Slann, maybe rear charging the Dreadsaurian, depending on the circumstances. And now it looks like the Dread Beast is going to be making some of these Khornate warriors, reject their alliances or allegiances, perhaps. So here comes the Dread Beast. The Marauders are going to be running for the hills. Not too much damage taken so far. In the backfield, we see the Marauder Horsemen circling around the back, trying to find their way onto the Ancient Salamander. And Valkia does actually get a nice little hunt back here. So Valkia is anti-large and armor-piercing, and she's going to be quite good against the Salamander, immediately doing some pretty substantial damage, about 20-30% of the Salamander's HP, and is going to be continuing to hunt it, I would imagine. Although, no, it looks like she's going to be going straight after the other Salamander, which is really good. Keeping those things away from the front line and inactive is a very, very big power play. So the Lizards kind of establishing their game plan here. We do see the Temple Guard over on Objective 1 and Star Chamber Guardians and Temple Guard here. And that is a lot of Khorne to fight, though. We got Cultists. We do also have Chaos Warriors of Khorne, which are very respectable fighters. Even better stat line than Temple Guard, probably. 46-39 against 39-48. So pretty close, kind of the inverse, although those are Star Chamber Guardians. So yeah, even like basic Temple Guard would probably trade. They might win against Chaos Warriors, but they probably wouldn't trade well from a cost perspective. So there was a banishment attempt on the Marauder Horsemen. You probably thought they were sitting still and not being paid attention to, but they were, so it didn't work out. And now here comes the Temple Guard. going to be engaging against these Marauders with the Dread Saurian. Khorne, on the other hand, is going to be engaging on the other side. You see the Occultist being sent in first to absorb the little impact. Fleshhounds of Khorne taking Objective 3 while the Marauder Horsemen circle around the back. And here the Skin cohorts trying to get their value once again, throwing the Javelins into the Marauders. And the Warriors of Khorne do descend on the Lizards. So big old fight here. Star Chamber Guardians going to be showing their mettle. A very elite unit. And you can see the Cultist of Khorne with his power mullet. And he's not a mullet. He's got like a weird haircut. He's got like the inverse Friar Tuck. I don't know what you would call that, but he's taken a lot of damage so far. He's already down to about 60%. Star Chamber Guardians grinding through these bad boys, looking towards objective number 1 here. It is in flux. Lizardmen are kind of in a position to potentially take it. Looks like they have stabilized most of the Ancient Salamanders, so both those bad boys are pretty healthy. Still have good ammunition and are being used to keep away the ranged elements, and eventually will be switching on to the Warriors, I would imagine. Now, Valkia looks to be going after the Dread Saurian. I think in this situation, when you have a life slann with a Dread Saurian, you probably just ignore the Dread Saurian, and it looks like that's what Lockhart Toffel is mainly doing. Valkia probably going to be switching back across to go after the Slann Mage, and now the dreaded Furies of Khorne have descended. Furies, of course, in this patch are insanely strong. 46 melee attack, going to be ripping into the Slann's toad hide. There's a hit right there, another hit, and a couple hundred HP is gone in a matter of seconds. And the Furies also going to be attacking the Salamanders. Now, Salamanders are going to be somewhat resilient against Furies because their armor is so high at 95. Even still, the Furies could be a little bit problematic for them, and we do see the Battletoad in some trouble. At 1800 HP, the Earthblood is going to be trying to salvage him, and his pet Dread Saurian does come over and is able to peel some of those Furies off, and it looks like they are going to be crumbling here in a moment. As far as the middle objective goes, very lore-friendly, seeing a Star Chamber Guardian, the elite Temple Guard of the Lizards, surrounded by demons and all sorts of scary stuff, fighting to the bitter end. But they are going to be losing this fight eventually. They're fully surrounded. Chaos Warriors of Khorne are pretty big. There's a character here. We got Fleshhounds on their back as well. So the Noble Star Chamber Guardians will be going down here in a moment, most likely, but not before they get 1,500 value. Talk about awesome, right? Fully surrounded, outnumbered, still trading and doing well. The other Temple Guard over here on this side managed to only get 350, so not great. But they do get some reinforcements in the form of Sacred Croxagors, which are an excellent unit against demon factions. Anybody who's going to be rocking demon infantry because they have good AP. And they also do have magic damage, so against the demonic infantry, which like to have that physical res, these big Power Fist Croxagors, Space Marine Croxagors, they do a nice solid job. However, Valkia is quite good against them. Valkia is anti-large, and she'll be able to methodically pick them off. You can see in the back, one of them does get karate chopped by Valkia. However, up on Objective 1, the Lizards do have a decent fight. They actually cleared out all those Furies. So that was, almost 1,800 gold worth of Furies, right? I think there was 3 of them. So yeah, there was about 1,800 gold worth of Furies that are about to be cleared out. The last one here probably going to go down to the Dread Saurian. Temple Guard and these Khorne Warriors having a bit of a menacing stare down here, just taunting one another before the battle, I would imagine. But the fighting has shifted over towards Objective 2, so it looks like both players are going to be kind of moving their focal point over to the center objective here. That Slann has certainly got to watch out. If Valkia disengages from one of her fights, the Battletoad could get caught out here. You can see the Battletoad trying to get away from those Furies. They do end up crumbling, but he's only got 1,000 HP. Here we see the Summoned Bloodletters moving in, going to be trying to chase down the Battletoad. While the Dread Saurian attempts to peel them, they're a summon unit. They'll be disappearing at about 14 seconds anyways, but the Slann is still netting HP. He's going up from the 1,000 he was sitting at. Here we got the Power Fist Croxagors surrounded. Marauder Horsemen, really nice play here by the Khorne player, able to get his horsemen nearby with their throwing axes to provide some much needed armor piercing against those big old crocodiles. And they're going to be breaking, probably only getting like 300 or 400 value. Yeah, about 500. So that's not terrible considering how outnumbered they were. But even still, maybe I think sending the crocodiles over to Objective 1 to solidify your position, then moving them around with the Dread Saurian and Earthblood would probably be the play. But here it comes, the assassination attempt. Valkia the Bloody hunting the Battletoad. So the Slann Mage going to be rolling away on his mobility scooter, while Valkia is intercepted here by the Dread Saurian, trying to protect the Battletoad. But I think Battletoad is not long for this Earth. He's got about 700 HP. If his leadership breaks, Valkia is going to be able to chase him off the battlefield most likely. Demon Shield was active, or is active on Valkia, so she's currently immune to damage, making her very good in this situation. Normally she'd be getting attacked by 2 huge monsters. But it looks like she's going to be fine and most likely will escape. We do see the double Minotaur of Khorne coming in. One of them does eat a fat salamander shot to the face on the way in, but they're able to take it like champs. So the Khorne Chars are here, and they're going to start taking this big old dinosaur to the club. And we will see. It looks like he's able to pull away, which is smart. Get a little bit of chaff underneath the Dread Saurian, and that's where he's going to be able to shine. Cultist chasing down the Slann Mage. Certainly very big here for E-Bankers to try and rally this Slann, but I don't think it's going to happen. Valkia is going to be on the hunt, and yeah, that Cultist is also going to be tough to get rid of. The Ancient Salamanders are pretty good AP fighters, but even still, I don't know if they're going to be able to save this. This is a tough call here. So back to Objective 2, we do see it being owned by Khorne. The far side objective is owned by Khorne as well. Currently points are 9-10 against 3-10, so it's clearly a triple cap situation for the Lizardmen, but the Lizards still have a good fighting presence on the battlefield. They have the Temple Guard, and keep in mind, even though Khorne is up on value, the Lizards have done a ton of healing, like multiple Earthbloods. I believe there's a regrowth in there. So I would say the Lizards are probably ahead on value on the battlefield right now, maybe by a little bit. The Dread Saurian's still active. We have 2 Ancient Salamanders. But losing the Battletoad is certainly going to suck. He's at 363 HP, and despite the best efforts of the Lizards, they're not able to protect him against the Furies, and the Furies will be swarming overhead. I mean, maybe, if the slann, like, it's still running and some of the Furies are attacking, you should be able to give an attack order to those Furies there, but yeah, he's at 363, probably going to be shattering here in a moment. Now, back to the epicenter of battle. We do see this objective being stolen by Khorne, so Khorne is parking a couple Marauder Horsemen as well as some tattered Marauders on the point, so might be able to steal this from the very slow and cumbersome Temple Guard here. Meanwhile, the Lizard Blob fight actually going well. Look at this, the Minotaurs of Khorne getting crushed by the Chad Saurian. Absolute punishment. And of course, the little Skink's going to be applying poison and making sure the Minotaurs aren't going to be putting all of their attacks into the big monster. Red Saurians are so freaking cool. Look at this thing. It's already gotten quite a bit of value, I would imagine. 2,400. So yeah, it's certainly on the path to paying for itself. Now, Red Crested Skink's going to be heading to the middle in tandem with the cohort of Waddle and the Skink cohorts. And this objective looking pretty firm for the dinosaurs. They got Objective 2. Objective 3 is completely undefended, so I would wager that the Lizards are going to be able to send some of their quick capture weight over there. Skink cohorts most likely going to be the call-in. Let's go ahead and see. Now, it's actually some clever girls, which are fast and provide a little bit of cap weight as well. So currently points 433 against 1067. Lizards do have, do they have this objective? They do still own it. Oh my God, is that going to get, oh, that was close. That was really big. If that had flipped to Khorne, that could have been a big deal for the dinos. But the fact that they're able to get back there really quickly with these Ancient Salamanders and the Skink cohorts, that's pretty damn massive and probably will give the Lizardmen an exponentially bigger opportunity to get back in this game. So Khorne, let's look at what they got in the battlefield. Unsummon's going down. A couple Khorne Taurs have rallied over here. Objective 2 is owned by the old Lizards, and there are some Skinks on the way across. Although a little bit of micro from these Marauder Horsemen will probably seal the deal. If they just pull back and then charge into these Skinks, they should be able to defeat them, but with the clever girls nearby, that wouldn't be the case. The Feral Cold Ones would be able to defeat the Marauder Horsemen in combat, although in open field, yeah, probably. The armor would probably be the difference in tandem with the hard-hitting nature of the Feral Cold Ones and the low MD of the Marauder Horsemen. So here we see some clever girls chasing down the Marauder Horsemen. This objective going to be flipping to the dinosaurs over on Objective 2. It looks like we do have the Powerfix Croxagores lining up to protect that one. And the Ancient Salamander is still very much functional. I doubt they've gotten insane value. This, I would say maybe at least over 1,000 each, because they've been fighting in melee too. So we have about 1,000 on this one. And this other Ancient Salamander over 1,000 as well. Still got it, baby. Still got it. But even though Valky is a really good anti-large fighter, I think a Dread Saurian is probably a little bit too much for her to handle. We do see a triple cap here in this situation. And what can Khorne do to try and get back in this one? So we do see some Chosen of Khorne. All right, that's kind of cool. As cool as that is, I think they're not going to be very good against the existing threats on the battlefield. The 2 Ancient Salamanders will be quite respectable against them with the ranged and melee. The Dread Saurian is pretty much a hard counter against the Chosen of Khorne. And we have the cohort of Waddle, which is an annihilator of armor, right? But Valkia doing what she can. She's going to be hunting down the old Ancient Salamanders here. And we do see the Ancient Sally on the run. It's going to be fleeing the scene. Currently 690 on the value on that Salamander. Okay, so I was looking at the same Salamander earlier when I was comparing those values. Regardless, Khorne going to be making a play for Objective 1, but it's rapidly becoming a situation where the dinos are going to be able to win on 2 and just kind of hold out. I do suspect Khorne might have enough to get this objective back just because there's not a ton of Lizard capture weight here. We'll have to see. Chosen of Khorne have really good leadership. And Valkia is here also. Valkia is going to be able to probably peel off the cohort of Waddle here. So the Valkyrie still doing her thing. Certainly doing better than she did in the cinematic trailer. Although I guess in the end she's victorious in the cinematic trailer, right? She eventually has a good time in that one, and she does take down the Croxagore. So now it's just the big old dreaded Dread Saurian, probably eclipsing 3k value now. And the Ancient Salamanders trying to take on the Chosen with their 130 armor, and their MD is also 50, so really not a slouch in the melee defense department either. But Khorne does use its mobility, its Marauder Horsemen, which it's been doing a pretty good job keeping alive, although the Salamanders trying their best to shut them down, as well as 2 infantry units, the Chaos Warriors as well as the Chosen, both of whom have pretty insane leadership to get that objective. But will they be able to handle the Dread Saurian is a question. Marauder Horsemen pulling back, getting nice throwing axes in. We do see the Dread Saurian sitting at about 5,000 HP, which is pretty insane considering you're like, oh, it's low health, but low health for a Dread Saurian is 5,000 HP. And the Marauder Horsemen get pushed back. Call-ins for the dinosaurs are going to be more Sacred Croxagores and Feral Cold Ones. And for Khorne, Khorne is still saving up. They just had their big call-in of Chosen and Warriors, a couple other things like that. So I think they need to kind of save up a little bit before they get something nice in there once again. But the objective is in flux now. The Lizards do have the capture weight as the Sacred Croxagores do arrive, and the Dread Saurian is trying its best. If that Dread Saurian routes off the battlefield, that could be a big problem for the dinos. Although, are the dinos going to be able to... See, here's the thing. If the dinosaurs can make it a 2-cap situation, I think they can win this game, because currently the dinos have a lot of power on other objectives. They have a Temple Guard unit here, several infantry units here, as well as another capture weight unit here. Fury's able to take apart the Feral Cold Ones, and a nice charge here from the Marauder Horsemen. And Khorne Horsemen are freaking awesome. One of my favorite things among the different Chaos Gods is the Horsemen, and specifically the Khorne ones, because they're so damn good at clearing out chaff. And chaff is very, common in domination mode for capture weight and just, these late game scraps. So having a skirmish cav unit that can have anti-large range capabilities, but also can clear out a chaff unit, like, look at that. They just butchered those skanks on the charge. Talk about Value City, man. That's good stuff. However, looking at the points, we do see a Kartoffel. He is currently up, but the Lizards would win on 2 objectives right now. It would be a very, very close one. He'd win by like 10 points or something like that. But he's going to have to get a lot. He's going to have to get a couple objectives back from the dinos. And dinosaurs are one of the better factions in the game at actually swarming objectives with, good capture weight. The skin cohorts are very quick, and for what, 300 they cost? They 46 speed, good capture weight, a lot, high model count at least, so they're going to be able to endure. I would imagine he's going to call some more over here. We do see 2 red-crested skinks coming out. High ground objective is being owned by the Blood God, so we do see that one being held by them. It's a little bit hard to tell. Hopefully CA fixes the UI a little bit so it's less janky. But even still, Khorne is going to be holding on to that one. Objective 2 owned by the Lizards, and Objective 3 is being held by the dinosaurs as well, but just barely. The mobility of Khorne doing a lot of work, as we do see the value lead for Khorne is about 900, but with healing taken into account, it's a very, very close game. Even probably Lizard favored in terms of value. But Khorne's mobility can win, a lot of engagements here, as we do see the capture weight being used here. So Kartoffel is pocketing these guys on the back of the objective here. The 2 Marauder Horsemen to maintain capture weight. Flesh Doggies do charge in, and the Furies could also rear charge in and flank as well. We do see a couple of Marauders of Khorne heading this way. But Valkia has lost this fight. That was kind of the thing. Khorne needed to win both these objectives for a short period of time, maybe even if they just flipped objective 1 for a second. But Valkia wasn't able to get it done, and the Dread Saurian did rout, not before getting 4,000 value, just about absolutely insane. And now she's in a hard fight. She's about to get a nice slap here, though, potentially. Oh, it looks like these skinks dodged it, and he was able to use the Demon Shield to mitigate that, so very, very cool. But Valkia is sitting at 3,000 value, so cool to see her doing well. I know she gets a lot of flack from people in replays, that she didn't do that much, but honestly, I think she's an incredibly good character. Sopnir's really good, Demon Shield's good. Being an infantry-sized anti-large character is also quite nice. But over towards Objective 3, we do see Khorne getting its foul demonic clutches on this point. There are some clever girls on the way up, but they're not going to be able to solo all those Marauders. But I really don't think there's enough time for Khorne. The Chad Saurian came back. Valkyrie the Bloody was finally defeated in combat by the Dread Saurian. And there's no way. Khorne's going to get past on points here in a second. Temple Guard does get nailed with the Sword of Khorne, though. Very, very epic. That was a nice one there. And are they going to have any chance? I don't think so. The Dread Saurian just routes everything else, basically. And that is it. GG, well played. Nice match between those players. Good little back and forth scrap, unorthodox, and it was quite a bit of fun. Dread Saurian was a beast, obviously some misplays as it pertains to losing the slann, but, was able to overcome it with the monster, 4,500. Talk about a carry. Not much performed super well in that army except the Dread Saurian, although the Salamanders did, 1,600, 1,200. Some okay performances from the Sacred Croxagores as well. Now, Valkia tried to put that game on her back, 3,100. Cultists did fine. Normally they're more about the Bloodletter summon. And let's see, how the Minotaurs do. Yeah, they didn't do super hot. He had the 4 Horsemen. I do like the build, honestly. I think the one thing about the build I don't like is the Chosen of Khorne. I would try and get more Fleshhounds, because if he had more Fleshhounds in the late game, he probably could have reinforced some of the fights better and won some objectives. So cut the Chosen of Khorne. I think 3 Furies is good. As far as the infantry selection goes, the Chaos Warriors are, they're not bad, I suppose. There's so many things Lizards do that wreck like armored infantry, though, like Clever Girls, Salamanders, Croxagores, Dread Saurians, Banishments, big monsters, right? So I think just going cheaper infantry would probably be better, in my opinion. And I wonder about, instead of maybe going Chaos Warriors, you go Bloodletters instead, because at least they would be able to cut through the Temple Guard more effectively. But anyways, and even Saurus Warriors, like Bloodletters after the most recent buff are pretty insane. All right, guys, GG, well played. We'll see you around, and that is it for tonight.